Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Business World. Thank you, Dr. Anurag, for this opportunity. I think the topic is very interesting and important. We have been speaking about and discussing this communication gap between academia and industry for the last 2 decades or so. But there is a twist in this topic. Can we have a Y-Combinator Accelerator in an Indian Bschool that can create unicorn? So here comes the twist. Now, we all know what is Y-Combinator, that is YC we call in short. It's nothing but it is a seed money startup accelerator. It was sometime in March 2005 or 2005, I'm sure. It was launched in US and has helped to curate and develop more than 2,000 organizations across the world, in US especially, but across the world. Some of the companies which has benefited from such funding includes AIRBNB, it includes Dropbox, Switch, Ribbit, and so forth and so on. So here, the question is, can Indian Business School partner with industry and do funding which can startup funding which can generate what's called revenue or generate a business model as such which can help in creating successful business? For the time being, let us park the unicorn part of it, because if you get success, then unicorn may come as we go. But before I go to the topic and I give my initial remark, I would like to request the other learned panelists over here, that because we have given about a 50 minutes time, and I see Dr. Himadri also have joined, we have got about 50 minutes time. So let us initially restrict our comment to 5 to 7 minutes. And if we have time, then we may go further and discuss some important point. And if there is some question coming on from the audience, we can take up those points. And one more thing, that while I'm requesting panelists, I'll go by alphabetical order. Only exception I'll make is Ashish, Mr. Ashish, because he's the only panelist from the industry. Maybe he will give his comment after all academicians gives their view. I think it works fine with everyone. Without further ado, let me tell you, if you ask me whether it's possible, yes, it's possible. Why do industry come to business school? Why do they come? There are a few basic stuff actually. One, historically placement. I'm not going to talk on that much. Another is consulting. They come for consulting to get advantage. Some of the consulting assignments, they have no solution, so they come to business school to get a proper solution to any of the problems. Another, they have a problem. They have got a solution also, but they want to get it someone to wait in actually, so that is more acceptable in the organization. This has been happening, not in a big way. It is happening across business school, and in other, there are a lot of business schools get funding for research from industry. Now, these are business schools which, or higher education, which are really good in innovation, whether in research, whether they have got those faculty members, some iconic faculty members who are really good in research, who can take up some innovative work which can be monetized by the industry. So if that is happening, then the industry will come forth and invest in research. Not much has happened in India in this sport, but it's very common in US and also in Europe in many countries. So now the question comes about whether it is possible, the question which is over here, can there be a Y-Combinator Accelerator in an Indian business school? I think it's possible. It's possible. And of course, I'll look forward to hear from other panelists. To me, it's possible. And the reason it is possible, I'll give my view. But before I give my view on this, I will, and with some example, I will just take a detour at this point of time. And I'll speak, before I give the example, I'll speak about something which I've been speaking in various news channels as well as in various forums. If you see the gross enrollment ratio in higher education, it is only 25% at present. The new national education policy says that by 2035 it has to be 50%. So we have got about 40,000 undergraduate school. If you move to, you have to make it double. Another 40,000 to be added. It's just impossible. Financial resources, land, faculty is not possible. The only way to go forward is digital mode. If you want to go in digital mode, then we have to, both industry and academia and using students. Students have got, these are students who students have got creativity. They're really good. And if you see, they have got more ideas. They have got very creative vision and ideas which we can actually take advantage. So if there is a startup fund, because industry, there is a commerce there. If it's successful, if the idea is successful, then they can monetize it. Both can take advantage. For example, say now, if digitalization is the way forward to actually educate so many students across, just my example goes this way, then we need to have a technology-based education, technology-powered education, augmented technology, and it can be done. And it is a reality to reach also, not only in higher education, also in primary education. The 6% GDP which we are talking about, even if it's spent, it is difficult to reach the people unless we go on a digital way. So if the technology part is provided by the industry and the idea from the business school, including the students, there can be a very good solution which is coming up. And with this solution, we can reach the people. Now, we have got videos which is very interactive, augmented, based on augmented technology. Really, maybe gamification will come sometime and make these videos more interactive. And they can get the answers. They can use it at any point of time, and they can get the answers because machine learning can provide questions. They can give a question, and machine learning can give them the answer. So I can see technology and education coming to fulfill the need of India. This is one of the examples. There are other spaces also. With this initial remark, I now will request Mr. Arun, Joe Arun, Director, Loyala Business Administration, School of Business Administration, for his, I think he's there. I cannot see him actually. No, I think he has not joined. So I can now request Mr. Dheeraj. I cannot see Mr. Dheeraj too. So can I ask Mr. Dr. Himadri to kindly give his comments? Dr. Himadri, please.
Thank you, Debasis. See, I'm going to focus on the specific topic that is there for the panel, because industry academia interaction engagement is a broad topic. It's an old topic, so I'm not even going to go near there. The specific topic is, can a business school host a Y-Combinator kind of accelerator? So I'm going to focus whatever time I'm going to speak on that only. This is a relatively new concept for India in an academic setting. In fact, there are business schools and there are technology institutes in India which have incubators, but nobody has an accelerator. So I want to make a distinction. In incubator is a more longer term thing where you have a setup where typically alum or existing students along with faculty get incubated when they're in startup mode, and they get space, and they can typically stay for 2 years, 3 years, depending on the policy of that particular incubator. Whereas an accelerator, and if we take Y-Combinator as a benchmark, it's typically a 3-month immersion. So Y-Combinator takes in 2 intakes every year, and they're there for 3 months. Some people call it a boot camp. Y-Combinator doesn't like the word boot camp because unlike a military boot camp with a lot of regimentation, here there is very little regimentation. People are allowed to kind of, do blue ocean stuff. But the point is, it's concentrated. It's for 3 months only. And it is an open competition. There are Indian startups which have been Y-Combinator accelerated. These startups have typically so far come from tech schools, like from the IITs, and they have been Y-Combinator incubated. So not incubated, Y-Combinator accelerated. These are two different terms. We have accelerators in India, but not within an academic environment. There are a lot of private accelerators. There are large number, more than 50, maybe close to 100 accelerators. And they are all funded by, typically angel investors or a group of people. It's seed money to essentially take care of expenses of the co-founders and a very, very small starting team till they can go for a formal round of investment from either an angel network or a venture capitalist. But this has been done outside of the academic space. It has never been done within academia. So the question for the panel that was given was that, can this accelerator model be used within a business school environment? My top of the mind answer to that is yes, it can happen, but the engagement will not be with industry. Even in the accelerators that exist in India or even Y-Combinator, industry in the traditional sense that we think of it, these big guys, these big corporations who come and do placements, who give consulting projects, etc., they are not the people who will engage with an accelerator. It will have to be the startup ecosystem. So it will have to be the angel investors, it will have to be mentors who have done startups and sold them and have experience. So an accelerator requires two sets of people to support. One are people with the money, the angel investors, and other are the mentors, people who have done it, been there. Typically, again, people who have been funded, who have built a startup, either got acquired or went public or got multiple rounds and became very big. So that is the kind of support that is required in a accelerator, which could be set up in, say, an Indian Bschool. And again, the key is to not let this thing drag. It has to be very concentrated 3-month things. So I think a way to start is you do a once a year 3-month thing, maybe during the summer when there is capacity on campuses, when dorms are less under pressure, hostels are less under pressure. This has to be an own promise, because there is a lot of learning across sectors. The reason Y-Combinator works is because at a given time in the cohort, they'll have a very large number of startups and their co-founders sitting there, and completely unrelated businesses, but they do best of class benchmarking among themselves. They learn from each other. So that peer learning is also very valuable in addition to mentor support and the money. In fact, Y-Combinator claims the money part is the least that they do for these guys. It is mostly the mentors who are ex-co-founders who have successfully sold, and the peer learning that happens within the group. So this is an ecosystem which can be created in Indian Bschool. My suggestion would be, do it once a year, for 3 months, possibly in the summer when there is more bandwidth within the Bschool space. Get in, tie up with multiple angel networks, not one, multiple angel networks. Also tie up with some successful founders who have sold their company or gotten into a strategic acquisition, when like a Walmart deal with Flipkart is more of a strategic acquisition. So find people like that. So you create this ecosystem of angel investors and successful startup founders and bring them into the campus. The faculty gives some basic inputs, like these guys have to learn entrepreneurial finance, they have to learn basics of digital marketing, B2B sales or B2C sales, depending on the business. So bring that in from the faculty side, the basic knowledge, bring in the angel investors for the funding, and bring in the successful startup co-founders for the mentoring. That is the piece. And if we can get these 3 pieces in place, faculty, angel investors, and successful startup founders, I think we have a very good shot at making this work. Anything else, in my mind, we'll be just spinning our wheels. Getting traditional industry involved is not going to work. It has to be the startup ecosystem, and a business school is a good place to do it. 3 months concentrated during the summer. So that is what I wanted to say as a set of opening remarks, and I'll be happy to chip in later as required.
Thank you, Himanshu. Now, can I request Professor Nagarajan from IIM Amritsar to kindly give his view?
Thank you, Professor Sanyal, for the opportunity. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I agree with Professor Himadri Das. When we are talking about the startups, okay, or even when we think about innovation or entrepreneurial activities or small businesses, that are booming, that are mushrooming, we have a tendency to really look at the technology side mostly. Okay. That is why many IITs and other technological institutions around the world are able to produce many of the startups, through this accelerator program or Y-Combinator or industry academia partnerships. In business school, I'm not going to say that it is impossible, but it is going to be much, much more difficult, if not impossible. That the reason I put my caveat is that, like Professor Himadri Das mentioned, we have to do it in a shorter period of 3 months, 4 months time. At the same time, that I would see more synergy between industries. Even the US, for example, when companies or these investors or venture capitalists and others invest money or promote this type of encourage this type of incubators and whatnot. What they are trying to do is they look at the relevance of what is being done in the institution, right, with what the company's activities are. They are not just going to fund any startup or any idea. That I see it to be less of an issue. I mean, lesser of relevance to the business school, because in business school, for example, the rest of the students, we are actually preparing them for a variety of careers. Some of them may be entrepreneurs, some of them may be going to the business, like the traditional career path, and some of them may actually be really looking at other avenues, higher studies and what. If we have to make this type of model really successful, I would like to see greater synergy, right, between the relevance of the research conducted by the business schools, in terms of solving really organizational problems that they are really looking at. Take, for example, if a company is, nowadays another thing is, I tell you, most of the companies are also trying to shrink, focus on their core competence, and then let the peripheral activity be outsourced. If there are entrepreneurs or small businesses or new ideas, how certain things can be done more efficiently or more effectively, I do see that this, even big corporations, for example, like MNCs and large Indian businesses, will most likely support these type of initiatives. Okay, it may not be a large money, it may be 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, or 20 lakhs. Something for people to keep themselves sustaining, right, while developing these ideas. That's what I would call as a network, that these large corporations can really create. But in terms of what business schools have to really do, okay, I think in business school, as faculty, as administrators, we also need to change our attitude or mindset in terms of how we can contribute to it. Many of the business schools also, for example, depending on the type of investment, maybe it is 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs, even B schools themselves should be able to fund those type of startups. I know many of the institutions in the US, right, they do have a small fund for this. Even this was long ago, now the amount must have gone up. Long ago when I was in Bulgaria, that was about 15 years ago. The university was giving about $500 to $1,000 per student, right, for this type of incubators and new ideas and startup generation. And then they say this was resulted in some sort of concrete outcome for the student. So it is doable. We can do it maybe like Dr. Himadri has said, in the summer, 3 months. And this need not be restricted only to the students or faculty. I think it is more across interdisciplinary approach, that institutions have to take. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nagarajan, for your initial remarks. We'll come back to you later on. Can I now request Dr. Pooja Jain? She's the director. I think so. Pooja she's the director, James Rohini, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, your initial remarks, please, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me, sir.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful to my co-fellow panelists who have just given us a lot of food for thought about the current state of entrepreneurial development that we do in B schools. I'll talk about a more micro picture that in B schools, majority of the students that join B schools have that concept in mind for joining a B school for a lucrative package. And when I look at the percentage of students who actually want to take up entrepreneurship as career option, there are very limited number of students who actually join a B school for becoming entrepreneurs. To be very, very honest, that's the scenario that I observed at my school level. Another aspect that I feel, which I rightly agree with Professor Himadri, is that there is a lack of that combination between a management and a tech, which lacks among students. Because if there are technology related courses like BTech programs, where the student is exposed to starting stages of actually developing a business concept, to actually taking it to prototype development, and finally coming on to implementation and commercialization stage, where most of our students, because we follow something like a trimester system, and there are multiple subjects that they have to complete, and then the focus is more placement, so they hardly get that kind of a time to devote on developing a business concept and taking it further to the commercialization stage. But I think it is a good idea to get all the incubators, the investors, as well as faculty coming together and discussing it, probably during summers, because that's the time where there is about a 3 months period which is there, where the students can be exposed to these concepts and they get time to develop on these areas. Apart from that, when I look at the faculty, as I agree with the moderator, when you started, you talked about the gross enrollment ratio. Whereas if I look at the number, the gross enrollment ratio has been picking up, and majority of the gross enrollment ratio is coming from undergraduate courses, where the faculty members mostly have very high teaching loads and they hardly get any time for research. So if I have to incorporate these kinds of things together, wherein faculty is also involved, as well as students are also involved in developing certain joint capabilities or smaller ventures coming up, I think there are multi-dimensional efforts that have to be done, rather than just doing a 3 months program. So we need to start very early. So for example, there have to be certain basic courses of entrepreneurship that have to be initiated in the the first year itself, or the first trimester itself, to expose the idea of entrepreneurship and how it really works, and involving mentorship, not just faculty mentorship. I think getting startup mentorship, or getting alumni who are already pursuing entrepreneurial careers to come and guide the students to how to take up the projects further. I think it has to be a combined approach to actually get this idea through. If we have to really do it seriously in management schools, because generally otherwise it remains a concept which is backed up by tech institutions, because that they are the ones who get maximum funding, they are the ones who have incubators. And see, in a management schools, the kind of incubators that I see is that you create open spaces wherein students can sit through and develop their ideas, but those ideas are more in paper forms rather than in actual prototype development forms. So we need to do a lot of efforts in order to get this idea through. So that is my first take on this, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pooja. I'll move now to Mr. Ashish Anand. Mr. Ashish Anand is CHRO, SAR group of companies. Your initial remarks, Mr. Ashish. You are the only one in the panel.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I get it, and I have a very hard task to keep up the pace with all of you with an academician. So I'm really humbled to be part of the group and sharing the platform with all of you. In my 21 years of my career, I have worked in four different industries. I worked in a very large automobile company, a very large Indian house which got into is the largest FMCG company now. Worked a decade in the financial services from an early stage to mid stage growth. And SAR Group is a very uniquely poised group which is in multiple businesses, right from battery, energy storage, appliance, B2B, energy space, electric vehicle, NBFC, and the range of combination from which we have range from early stage to mid stage to late stage, and incubations. We run a venture capital where we incubate companies with our own personal money and group money, and we blossom those organizations. I have and I was a management graduate myself 20 years back, but long way back that time, entrepreneurship and startup was never the buzzword. The idea at that point in time was from a middle class family to just grab a job and secure a monthly income. But things has undergone quite a lot of change in last 10 years, 7 to 10 years, with the kind of valuations companies have started to get from largely from the private equity and the venture capital, and that has attracted a lot of things. If you look at the sectors which has been challenged by the startup are all traditional sectors. Financial institutions has got a lot of innovation around that, which is a fintech which has come in. And if you look at food delivery, if you look at car rentals, if you look at any of the industry, now most of the startups have gone ahead and challenged the traditional industry. And if you look at the example of B2C, the way we used to buy things, now it's like if you look at most of the ideas, borrowed ideas, in my personal opinion, are the borrowed ideas from the Western world and got superimposed in India. And if you read the profile of a lot of the founders in the India who have set up these companies, a lot of people had an overseas background. They looked at those ideas and came and implemented here. Now that gave an impetus to startup ecosystem here. Now, with regard to and we incubate a lot of companies, and we have tie-ups with engineering institutions in the country. But if you look at, I have a slight disagreement with here, is that if you look at today, at least the premier B schools, 1995, and we do go to IIM Rohtak, we have been to IIM Amritsar, we go to a lot of other B schools to recruit, given in a year. If you look at majority of these students are engineers and from a premier B school, from a premier engineering college. Now there are reasons why people go to an MBA college, because the career aspirations, etc. But in my view, B school is very uniquely poised to become an incubator. Unfortunately, the only challenge is that people, the students' motivation gets changed when they get into that. But the startup, if you look at the people who want to join startup today, is in a far higher degree than what it used to be a 10 year back or a decade back. That's a shift of the recruitment which I have seen. I've been going to campuses for the last 15 years in different campuses. So people have the, I think students have the inclination to work in startup, but the ecosystem currently doesn't exist. And I can give you a perspective from a company's point of view. If we have to work on the startup, and we do work on few things around that, and large startup one-to-many is tech-led, and the first impression anyone gets is that let's go to one of the IITs, one of the NIITs, and just go and look at it, and that's where people are willing to experiment. In that sense, they have positioned themselves, but institutions of your repute haven't been able to get into that, maybe whatever the reason could be. It's a right combination of finally the startup which are successful has a right management aptitude as the good technical knowledge. That's all the startups who are successful has a combination of that. So it's an opportunity. Industries will collaborate. They will go if they see an initiative from there. Is what my opinion would be.
Okay. I think Mr. Ashish, you touched upon the important thing. One question which is coming into our mind, like this morning I was a keynote speaker, I was hearing him, Mr. Shiv Kumar, he said only 19 to 20% of management graduates are useful in India, as you said. And another important remarks he made was that when he goes to teach in Harvard, the people over there, students after the session comes up with new idea and ask him how to monetize it, how to take it. In India, after the session of anywhere place, or the course or the session, students ask, sir, are you going to recruit me? Now, it's fact, and what he said is right. But you want us to understand the basic structure. In India, we allow students without experience also to get into a PGDM or MBA course, as you call it. Where in US, at least 3 years of experience, average in Harvard and all will be 6 or more than that experience. Now, with this background of the students, like having 0 or 1 or 2 years of experience, how feasibility, and during summer, we talked about summer, The summertime is usually they have to go for internship. How much difficult it will be for B school to accommodate one, whether it is how they can do it. I think it can be done. We have to find out a way. Everything can be done, and we can find out a way to do it. The thing is that I will ask. I'll throw this question to all of you. Mr. Himadri may like to comment first.
See, I have a very different view here from what everybody has been saying. The accelerator, a Y-Combinator type of accelerator, and again, repeat, not incubator, but accelerator. They're two very different things. The Y-Combinator type of accelerator that will be hosted in a B school is not necessarily for the B school students. I think we getting into this discussion of are B school students equipped to do startups? What is the mindset? This, that, do they know the tech? So, we are limiting our scope and canvas if we say the accelerator in a B school is limited to students of that B school. An accelerator would be hosted in a B school during the summer when hostels are available, not necessarily for students of the B school, but for co-founders of startups who have come through a screening process, who have come through a competition, just like the Y-Combinator model. It's an open competition. People from all over the world apply. In this case, people from all over India may apply. I don't expect all over the world to apply. And these are people who have already got a business plan and they will submit their business plan. They might have graduated 2 years ago. They might have graduated 3 years ago. They might be recent graduates. They might be engineering school graduates. They might be business school graduates. So what the B school provides, the reason it makes sense to host this accelerator in the B school, because no matter how good tech you know, yes, most of these startups will have a tech backbone in today's day and age at least. And those are the ones which get funded the most easily because they can scale faster. But these tech guys need B school inputs during that 3 months acceleration. They don't know anything about finance typically. They don't know anything about sales, forget marketing. They may not know enough about basic interpersonal relationships to build a team and how do you work with a team, basic very elementary leadership issues. So this is what a B school is good at. So the B school faculty gives those inputs to these co-founders of startups with a business plan in place who have come through a competition. And then the additional support is given by what I said in the first time I spoke, by a group of mentors who are not B school faculty, who are not faculty from anywhere, who are not from traditional industry, but who are successful startup founders from the recent past, who have built a startup, sold it, made money and moved on to something else, maybe another second startup, or they have become investors, whatever, somebody who has done it. Those are the mentors. And then you get the angel investor community to provide whatever small amount of seed money is required. The money part is not going to be the big part at this stage, because after this 3 months of acceleration, they will have a more advanced business plan with probably some minimum viable product, as they call it, MVP, based on which they can attract more serious funding, maybe pre-series A funding, something like that. So this is what is going to make it work. So it is not for the students of that B school. It is something that will be an open competition from any set of co-founders who have a business plan on paper that goes through a competition and they are brought in. So these are people with ideas already. They will not develop the ideas while they are there in the accelerator. 3 months is too short a time to develop ideas. And this will go through a competition where,
yeah, I got it. I think a very relevant point Dr. Himadri has raised over here, stated over here. When we talk about accelerator, it need not be for the school students. It can be alumni, but anyone who wants to come, it's another wing which is to be promoted by business school. Another initiative of the business school, wherein competition may be held year round, and after that, 1 or 2 ideas can be taken, and then you have to get angel investors and mentors from the industry and also faculty members to see the idea is curated and can come to a commercial state. Absolutely well taken. I think I would just like to ask Mr. Ashish, how open are industry to such ideas? how open they will be. I tell you, for my side, we have. I'm not saying that we don't have any business school, didn't have any fault of their own, but industry, will they be very much open to come and partner with such ideas? Ashish.
I do think so. I do think so. Industries would be open to ideas. There would be few early adopters to the process. This similar thing also has happened in the engineering colleges in the tech development. See, look, if you look at any company today, even if the traditional industry is trying to pivot their business model, they finally end up going to one of the consulting firm or somebody to take an advice and go and do that. If it is done with the purpose and that, I do think there would be industries, companies interested in it.
Okay.
May not be all 100, maybe to begin with, five of them will be interested.
Okay. So what you're giving a very optimistic and a very motivation stuff is that industry, if you have got good ideas, then you can. There will be people. Actually, money is not important, as Himadri stated. It's idea and getting mentors and proper mentors and faculty members who have the knowledge and experience to curate the idea and make it workable.
Yes.
Yes. Professor Nagarajan, what is your view on this type of initiative to be workable in a business school?
Okay, I think you started off well by asking that most of the business school students in India are fresh graduates with no industry experience and whatnot. I mean, having been a business school graduate 35 years ago, I can share one thing that I thought things may have changed over 36 years. But the reality is that, still we seem to follow the same type of. Let me backtrack a little bit. Let's separate the undergraduate or bachelor's degree and the postgraduate degree in business. By undergraduate, I mean like all the engineering, BSc, biology, whatever you want to call it. It is true that that these students don't have experience. If you look at the US, many of the top schools like UT Austin and College Park and all that, they have sort of modeled this cooperative learning type of system. Where students may join, complete 1 year in the college, and then some company, rather than a 2-month internship, that's why we have a traditional model. You finish 1 year, go for a 2-month internship, finish the second year, go for a CTC. Which company is going to hire me, or I'll be getting a PPO. That's one model, which I'm not saying is wrong per se. Okay, that model may not really work in this type of environment where we are trying to really focus more on entrepreneurial idea generation and commercialization and whatnot. If you look at the other model, like where there is more flexibility for the students. Okay, I've seen this in Europe also. Like there are University of Applied Sciences, where it is mandatory that you do 1 term in the school, this college or university, and the next term you're actually working in the industry on a related field, and again come back. See, what I like about the model is that it does allow, for example, transference of knowledge from industry to academia and vice versa. And they work under both a mentor from the industry as well as they work under a mentor from the institution, the professor, which allows them to bridge the gap. But in India,
only thing which one see, it may not be just as we discussed before. It may not be just for the students of the institute. It is an initiative, separate initiative altogether. So the B-School, certain B-School platform where you do such activities, where you can get some good ideas and then get the accelerator to work on that. So it may not be just for the students.
Yes, I was actually coming to that point also. I think the way the model may work is like, either the private capital, venture capitalist or private equity companies or even large corporations, can actually act as a mentor for some of the business schools, where they may want to partner with them. Well, that happens in the US also. Okay, I've seen companies funding money for this type of activities, and not only funding money, but also they take on the mentorship, right, for running these programs, where the industry people also mentor. That's something like this need not be restricted only to summer. This can be more of an ongoing process throughout the year.
Hello. I think we have lost him.
Did you lose me?
We have lost you, sir. Can you come back?
I'm here. It shows that I'm here.
Okay. I have a small question for Dr. Pooja. Dr. Pooja, we have seen in India the movement of entrepreneur movement in business has not worked much, hardly any. So many of them incubation center, many have got Atal incubation money, but the outcome is not that encouraging across business schools, including top business schools in India. Whether as an alternative, this model of Y-Combinator Accelerator is better off and is expected to work, because it's totally a bit different than others. It's much more focused. It is much more focused, and it's not open, and any can to incubate ideas and go on. There's nothing out. It is focused, time bound. So whether this model can work in India, this school.
I think this model has more chances of working because if at the macro level there are a lot of Atal incubation centers which have been established, as well as a lot of initiatives that the current government has taken. But what I feel is that this model is going to work better because here there is going to be more hand-holding, guiding, mentorship, and actually at different stages of taking up the project further. As rightly said by some of the fellow panelists, that it could be an open platform, not just limited to one campus or one institution, wherein we could have competitions, and they're not developing the business plan there. The business plan is already there, and in fact, it has to be vetted by the angel investors, the incubators, as well as accelerators for further taking up the project. One more thing that I want to add currently, and actually I want to ask Mr. Ashish here, because for a few years, management experts have been talking about the VUCA world. But I'm not very sure the world was VUCA before the pandemic, or now it is more VUCA. So in current scenario, do you think that investors are ready to put in their funds currently into the market? And are they really interested to take up these projects and get into the final product or the viability stage? Is one of the few skeptical, or the skepticism which exists currently in the mindset, because people are worried, investors are worried, businesses are worried. They really are not sure how the market is going to behave. So I want to ask whether the sentiment is currently right for the industry to be getting into these kinds of projects or not, because that's the need of the hour. If we are talking about development of these kinds of projects and getting students into an accelerator program, but is industry ready to do it in the current times, is something that is one of the questions that is coming to my mind.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we are now reaching your last 5 minutes. I think I don't see any question coming out from the audience. So, I'll ask few comments. The last important point that I would like to ask everyone in 1 minute maybe, going forward, do you see, because this is the first time I saw in one of the conference, the discussion on Y-Combinator Accelerator is taken up. Now, because it has been taken up, there will be discussion further in other platforms too. Whether quick question from the industry as well as academic body, the directors over here, whether you see there'll be a surge of such initiative in business school? Himadri?
I don't see a surge, but I see a beginning. So surge may not happen, but I do see it beginning, and some B schools will take the initiative and create an open platform, open to all startup co-founders who already have a business plan and do this, marriage of, three sides in this case, multi-sided platform of business school faculty, angel investors, and successful startup mentors. It will happen, but it will not be a surge. It will not be an explosion. It will happen in very few B schools who have that vision, who have that long-term outlook, and who are willing to leverage their network outside of academics, outside of industry, into the startup ecosystem to make it happen. So it will happen, but not as such.
I think this COVID has given a flip to it, because now people at home have got time to think about, and there are a lot of new ideas are coming in the mind of people. Maybe may not be a surge, but I think there'll be we may see some business school coming up. Your quick comment, Professor Pooja?
Sir, absolutely right. It's just a beginning, and these schools have just started thinking on these areas of entrepreneurial innovation, development. And when I see the rankings, as well as I was going through Atal ranking, there were very few management schools who had actually participated in these kinds of rankings, because there are hardly any activities that they are doing on these aspects. So I think it is a good beginning. And if the environmental business climate supports that kind of a beginning, it is really going to go. And the visionary institutions are going to take it up forward. And only those institutions will actually be able to create the results. As you were talking and you were asking me that question, the results would only come from those visionary B schools who are going to put in efforts into this area. That's my take on it.
Thank you so much. Actually, it happened. Actually, if you see about 15 years back, each OPAL was actually a business plan which was developed in business school, which was then, it was the competition taken up by ITC those days, and it happened. Such competition, business plan competition takes place, and from that idea does come in, and on that, some of the business houses have worked on that and have come out with successful models. Professor Nagarajan, your last comment, please.
See, it is going to happen. I'm not going to deny it. I think just with Professor Himadri Das and Professor Pooja, it will happen. But some schools may, what you call take a quicker lead, and I suspect these might be some of the ones that are very old and that have the resources and internal capabilities to do it. But it's not going to be a huge surge that so many events are going to take place. It may be a beginning, but maybe after 2 or 3 years, when the program shows success, right, or results, then suddenly there'll be a huge surge on that. Not immediate in the near future. And for all practical purposes, COVID has put a break on some of the initiatives, on the institutions also, B schools also. I don't know about IMI or GIMS, but the fact is that, we are sort of stretched on resources now, because we are adapting to a different primary, goal of meeting the students and teaching. But it won't be a huge surge, but it will take place. And I think in India, it's more likely to take place because there have been a lot of startups and entrepreneurial ventures that have started over the years. So this may be a good forum, to leverage those type of ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for and Mr. Ashish, your last comment on this subject. Do you see business school taking a step in this regard, and do you see industry coming together and helping, both working together to set up such accelerators? I'll put it this way.
So, sir, my two cents on quick 2 cents on this. I think it will happen, and in a 10-year time, in a decade time, you will see a huge shift in this Y Accelerator program. And there's one fundamental change. This is B schools are also B schools are incubator of the business houses. and business ideas. So as the business changes, B schools also changes. There may be a little lag in it. If you look at how the companies used to operate in 60s and how it operates today, or in 90s and today. So I think that will happen whether by choice somebody takes a leap, or by force you are forced to change because the economic environment will change. So it will happen. But my sense is that post-COVID it will accelerate.
I think so. I also think so. Thank you, everyone. My last comment will be: there is the best part of is that business world has taken this topic and as beyond just we have been fed up with industry academic this is going on for years. I think this is a good topic which business world has taken up, and it gives a new idea, and I think we will see. And I'm very optimistic. I'm a hardcore optimistic guy also. I think that things to happen, and there will be many of the institute to work on that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all.